And now we'd like to welcome to the program Gary Tabach, former Chief of Staff of the NATO Military Liaison Mission in Moscow. Hello, sir, and thanks again for joining us here on TVP World.
Hello, TVP World. It's my pleasure to be with you.
It's great to have you. So we saw these massive attacks over the weekend on Israel, of course, 99% of which was all shot down by Israel and its partners. And so obviously this week, everyone's debating what should be the proper response. I mean, Israel has to respond to these massive attacks. So if you had to guess, what do you think that Israel, how Israel will respond?
I'm not going to guess because I don't know what will happen, because the world politics is so crazy today that predicting something like this is it's just you might as well go to the fortune teller. Probably there would be 50-50 chance. The thing is, I don't think it's just like Ukraine. It's not Israeli problem. It's our civilized world problem. What should we do? And as a military man, I can tell that we should seize this opportunity to destroy Iranian nuclear program once and for all. So we would not be held, the whole world would not be held hostage. So these Houthi people, terrorists will not hold the whole world hostage with the shipping around the Africa coast. And we should help Iranian people to free themselves of this tyranny that they've been having for 40 years. And while there's still a generation that remembers what it's like to be not under Ayatollahs. And,
I'm going to jump in there. Gary, and ask what you think of this. Some commentators say that actually Israel should consider this a win. They shot down 99% of these drones with the help of their allies, and this is where it should end. Yeah, and they should take on a deterrence strategy. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, let me continue. We should help Baluchi people to win their independence, or at least their autonomy from this tyranny that is going on in Iran. And this is not a football game or a basketball game where there's a win or lose. This is the entire world is at stake. Our values as free people, that is at stake. So, we can say that the Ukrainians also just won the day before yesterday when they shot down Russian missiles, the one that actually went by in Poland, entered Polish airspace. We can call that a win. But the day after, their children got killed, and their whole grid of electricity was wiped out. So they're probably, if we don't do anything about it, they'll probably freeze in the winter. So I don't know if it is not a win. It is just that our technology that is much more superior to theirs, and they have allies, which is a very good. Surprisingly to me, that Jordanians got engaged, that Saudi Arabians got engaged, and even Egyptians got their air force up in the air, except that no missiles entered the airspace, so Egyptians didn't have a chance to shoot any of this down. But so we can see that the most unlikely allies are still on the side of Israel, or on the right side of history. I mean, to criticize Poland a little bit, I think Poland should have shut down Russian missiles that entered their airspace.
Well, I think a lot of people have similar opinions.
Right. There's actually quite a bit of debate about that. I mean, from a Ukrainian perspective, we've seen lots of voices talking about a double standard. That the U.S. is willing to throw so much assets into protecting Israel, yet when that missile that crossed over into Polish airspace, nobody can seem to shoot it down because they're risking provocation. Do you see a similar double standard when it comes to U.S. support of Israel and U.S. support of Ukraine, which they say for as long as it takes?
Well, I mean, the missile did not enter U.S. space; it entered Polish airspace, and it should have been Polish air defenses that should have acted on it, because and not say, okay, trajectory such that it's not going to hit our ground. Yeah, okay, so it's going to fly over to Ukrainian side and kill Ukrainian innocent civilian people. We should be all together on this. Yes, there are double standards for sure, but there are also different ally signatories. You know, Israel is considered to be a close friend of NATO and the United States, and all that it would take for Ukraine to be such friend is for President of the United States to sign such a thing, and they would become a close ally of NATO as well. But our president, for some reason, is refusing to do so. It is also that we're so interacted with the Israelis that we cannot not be engaged with them, because let's say like F-35 and F-22, the helmets are created in Israel. The Patriot missiles, you know, it's also created in ways, is also Israeli technologies. Our military technology is very interacted with the Israelis, so we can't just ignore and say, okay, we're not going to help you. They're going to say, okay, well, we're not going to help you. So that's not how allies work. But what we all should do is help to fight tyranny around the world. In my personal opinion, I do not think that an attack on Ukraine on that same day, over this weekend, there was a huge attack on Kharkiv and Kiev. It was coordinated the same way. I mean, we all have one common enemy. That is, when we say we do not want to escalate, we don't want to provoke them. This is what you do. We all went to school, and the way you provoke a bully is trying to avoid him, because he's going to you down the hallway and beat you up anyway, or do something nasty to you. The way you not provoke a bully is to punch him back in the nose and bleed his nose and say, "Don't do that. Step back. I'm gonna fight back." So all this not provocation or not, don't retaliate. This is just provoking. The sheep will not stop provoking wolves from killing them just because they're gonna bundle up and play there. The only way to stop a wolf is by having a wolf hound, by somebody that's like a wolf but more aggressive. By
the looks of it, it's basically Israel says, jump, and the US says how high. But we saw that, on Sunday, the US, reported the minute, there was a situation. Netanyahu, it says that, is dragging the Middle East and the US into a wider conflict. The US makes it clear that it doesn't want to be dragged into something along those lines. But if that were to happen, what do you think? How would events develop?
Somehow, when we had a previous president, nobody was dragging him into any conflict. Not in the Ukrainian conflict, not into the Kosovo conflict, not into Taiwanese conflict, not into
I think Donald Trump posted something to that effect during those hours.
That is to say that somebody is, just to make a statement such as that, and I'm a U.S. military man, I swore allegiance to the United States and I'll die standing my ground. But to say that we, the United States, somebody's dragging us into something, a tiny state like Israel is dragging us, or Ukraine is dragging us, nobody drags the United States into anything. We are a one first nation that everybody is trying to emulate, including the Poland that we share our values with. Nobody can drag us into a war to destroy tyranny. Nobody dragged us into World War II. We had to destroy Hitler. We did it because we thought it was the right thing to do. And this is what American people wanted. American people, by a supermajority, voted to give land lease to Ukraine. And the White House did not act on it, ignored the will of the American people.
Right.
Nobody's dragging us. Nobody can drag us or influence us.
And that brings me to what we're witnessing right now in the United States. We have this vote in the House. Looks like Speaker Johnson is splitting it up. So separate aid package for Israel, separate aid package for Ukraine, I think one domestic one and another one for Taiwan. So essentially taking this one piece of legislation that's already passed in the Senate and breaking it into 4 this week, so it'll have to re-go through the Senate. What are your feelings on this? Do you think that these packages will pass?
I don't know if they will pass, but it will be definitely easier for them because it's going to be separate. And plus, we will see who really supports Ukraine, who really supports Israel in our Congress, and who supports Hamas and Gaza, because there's a $10 billion in those packages that were for Gaza, for Hamas. And so when you split those packages, this is when we're going to see who is really voting for whom and on which side of the fence they stand. But and therefore they will not be able to throw the blackmailing or with our border control of our borders. So that would be separate issue instead of bundling everything up. But I think the previous Speaker of the House, McCarthy, and today's Speaker of the House, Mr. Johnson, they're saying, yeah, it should have been split up before. Why bundle everything up in one package and vote for it all at once? It's ridiculous when you vote to buy tomatoes and cucumbers and penicillin all at the same time, all of it or not.
It's always stuffed with pork anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Right. See, that's exactly right. Maybe you'll have time to explain to your viewers what it means.
All right. Well, Gary Tabach, thank you very much. He's the former Chief of Staff, NATO Military Liaison Mission in Moscow. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.